Going live, and we're live. All right, it's week 4 Linux. Hope you guys didn't have too much of a hard time last week. I haven't gotten a whole lot of emails yet from people who have turned in stuff. That's okay. I would like to get them in, and like I said last week, it doesn't matter if you don't get it done completely. Just send me an email with what you got and where you're having problems, and we can go from there. I'm actually going to go over last week's assignment because I didn't get a lot of responses from it yet. What I wanted to do is explain a little bit about what to do, how to do it, and what the end result should look like. So if you do a DNF group list, it'll show you all of the different groups that can be installed. And these are nice because they're not just an individual package or individual program, but they're a set of packages or programs that allow you to do different things. For example, there's KDE Plasma workspaces, LXDE desktop, LXQT desktop, Cinnamon desktop, Sugar, and all of these things. LXDE is a forget the name now. Windowing system, desktop environment. LXQT is another desktop environment. Where I've already installed XFCE and Mate, and I did that by doing I don't have it anymore, a DNF group install. And this is maybe where some of you may have gotten hung up, but you need to add, oops, wrong window, group install. Let's do Mate desktop, which is exactly like this. If you just have a space in there, it'll take them as two different arguments and it won't work right. So I do need the quotes around that. So the quotes around Mate desktop, and if I hit enter on this, it's going to say it's already installed and skipping. But let's do LXDE instead. I don't have that one installed yet. Hopefully it's not very big. If it's too big, we'll just wait. 17 megs, yeah, sure, let's do that. And this will go ahead and download and install everything that's needed to get that windowing system, that desktop environment installed. And of course, now, I had this problem earlier. This is, for some reason, I've been having problems in this lab with DNS. Configure, like DNS just does not like me, but that's okay. I'm going to add Google's DNS, and I'll add level 3 as DNS because I can. Very easy to remember, and I'll apply. And now it'll probably work. 17 megs, sure. With luck, it'll actually be able to go through maybe ping. It can't resolve still. Oh, well, even though I added them there, it didn't work, so I'm adding my own DNS system lookup. So I can show you guys this. You hit yes, and then it goes through and downloads. Hopefully it will this time. Hey, look at that. It'll download all the packages required, and there's quite a few. I mean, a lot of Perl packages. Actually going by pretty fast. I didn't know LXDE was Perl, apparently, or it relies a lot on Perl. Anyway, as soon as this is done, what you have to do to get it to work is actually install, or not install, but you have to reboot the system to get it to show up. I've already done that with the other desktop environments, so I'm just going to log out. I'm going to do log out this session. And now, just before I log in, there's this little gear here, and it allows you to select which window environment. Now, LXD isn't on here because I haven't rebooted yet, but if I rebooted, it would show up. Let's go for XFCE so you guys can see one of my favorites. This is XFCE. This is what it looks like. Great. Gives me help. I don't care. I also don't need that. And no. So this is XFCE. It looks a lot different. So I have GNOME still running on my host computer, and you can see there's this menu and this stuff, and I can click on this to find other programs. And it's got nice little effects, but XFCE just has an applications menu up here. Very similar like Windows, old school Windows, like Windows XP. I can also customize this however I want. Like I can say move and maybe panel preferences, and I can say panel 1, which is this guy that's highlighted in red, and I can say it's vertical, or I can say it's horizontal, but it's let's see, there should be a way to change. Let's unlock the panel. Maybe that'll help. Oh yeah, there we go. So I can move it to the bottom of the screen, and then panel 2, which I just covered up, I could just move that wherever I really want. Let's unlock it and then grab its handle here. Has a little, I don't know if you can see that very well, it's got a little handle there where you can grab and then move it around. I can put it up there. So this is a very customizable system, you know, and by default it kind of emulates a hybrid between Windows and OS X with the application bar on the bottom where you have your favorites and stuff like that. But the point is, it looks different. It's very customizable. These are your virtual desktops. And to give you an idea of what virtual desktops are, let's open up a file browser, maybe. File browser. There we go. And then let's open up a terminal, or a file browser and a terminal. And then over here, I'll just open up a web browser. Let's pick Mozilla Firefox, my favorite. So now I have all these different programs running, but on different workspaces, so I can actually switch between those workspaces really quickly and easily. And you notice it only shows the stuff that's on that that workspace. So I could just move over, and then I can see this. And same thing here. Say I don't want that there. Just to show that they're all different. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out of this, and I'll show you the other one that I installed, which was Mate, which is pretty cool. This is what GNOME used to look like, and some people got upset basically that GNOME went a different direction with this whole nonsense. And so they said, well, let's, you know, kind of carry on that work. And similar to XFCE, there are, you know, menus in the top left. Although instead of the programs running being up here, they open up down here. So you can see the Mate terminals here. The virtual desktops are here. Similar, this is a lot less customizable. You know, I can make new panels and change things about panels. But there's a lot fewer options, but it's also a little bit nicer looking. There's also quite a few configuration options here. I can change the way things look. You know, this looks a little bit like Windows and how it looks. I can even do this theme manager right here, right? And you guys might be interested in this. This is actually pretty cool. Let's go for that. Can I apply that? apparently it's not liking that. I wonder how. Let's go appearance. You can change how things look, and it applies immediately right there. Goes to black mate theme, or I can go to a traditional theme, or I can go mist, or there's 1,000 different other themes. There are even sites, if you click on this Get More Themes Online, it goes to, I think it goes to, no, matedesktop.org. And there are tons and tons of themes. You can make it look like OS 10. You can make it look like anything you want. It's pretty amazing. Now, the network got jacked up again. Let's see if this works. I doubt it will. Not looking good. Hopefully it might. Yeah, all right. So that's Mate right here. You know, very customizable. It's a lot different than you know, even here where you have your settings, right? The settings panel is completely different. Hopefully you guys can still, yeah, you can still see my screen. You know, looks a lot different, acts a lot different, but underneath it's still Fedora and it's still Linux. I'm going to go ahead and log out of there. And again, just to change that, before you hit sign in, you can change back, and I'll change back to GNOME. I'll sign in, and we're back to GNOME. And of course, it's probably going to try to pop up a bunch of stuff. I don't know why these notes started popping up automatically, but exactly like what you guys, you know, or at least used to by this point. So that is last week's assignment, basically. And this week, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, a little less user side, and this is more server side. I'm going to go ahead and shut that down. I think that'll work. So I went and looked at some statistics, and apparently I don't have it up anymore. The LAMP stack, or Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Apache has been the #1 web server for a long time. I probably need to put an H in front of that. In fact, if you look at this graph here, basically from 95, I guess it was June of 96 where Apache overtook everybody else. But between 96 and today, Apache has been the dominant web server software used globally. And that's kind of amazing, really. It's lost recently to like Nginx, you know, some other web servers that are out there. My biggest surprise is in August of 2014, Microsoft, for 1 month, overtook Apache, and I find that kind of crazy. Because ever since and before, Microsoft kind of held its own at about 20-ish% on average. Probably, you know, they're gaining a little bit in popularity, but for the most part, they're as big as they're ever going to be. Apache is kind of on the decline. Nginx and some of the competitors are coming along to, you know, supplant Apache, but Apache is still king. And one thing I noticed on my machine when I tried to install Apache, I'll open up a terminal here, and I'll log in as root, and I'll do a DNF install. Well, I'll do a DNF search Apache, show what I'm looking for. If you just look at Apache, there's a lot of stuff. What we mean usually when we talk about Apache is the web server, which is the HTTPD, or I'll just search for it, HTTPD. D stands for daemon, which before there was nomenclature for all this stuff, they didn't call them services, they called them daemons. And daemons are basically the same thing as services. They're just programs on your computer that run in the background and serve up content passively. HTTPD serves up web content, hence the hypertext transfer protocol part of the daemon. So it's hypertext transfer protocol daemon is what HTTPD stands for. There are a ton of other different, HTTPDs, but I went to install it because I know it's just called HTTPD. And I don't know if this is the case on your systems. It was on mine, but it was already installed. So I already had it running, and so what I wanted to do to at least see if it worked, we'll see if it's running. So we'll do a system CTL HTTPD status. Sorry, my bad. Using wrong nomenclature. Systemctl status HTTPD. And it says it's loaded, but it's dead. So I'm going to go, instead of saying status, I'll say start. And it didn't do, it just went away, which most commands, if they're successful and they don't really need anything, will just go away. So I'll go back to status, and now it says, instead of dead, it says active running. So I should be able to go to a new tab in my browser and just type http :/localhost, and it pops up a web page. Now, I had already customized a page in here. What you guys will likely see instead of that will be, I'll just remove it. Instead of seeing this, you'll probably see this, where it says Fedora test page, and gives you some information. There's a funny story behind this test page, in that a while ago, probably 10 years, someone was trying to sue Apache, and actually particularly CentOS, because their website had gone down, and their web service provider had actually, they were using CentOS, which the CentOS test page looks almost exactly like this, basically they hadn't loaded, they had a failure, it hadn't loaded from their backup, so they just had Apache running with its default website, but no of their clients' websites. And so this clients, saw this and saw that, it's like, hey, for more information, contact Fedora, or in that case, it was CentOS, and they went and chewed out CentOS developers because someone hadn't gotten their website back up and running yet. So it's important, and as soon as you create a page, let's go here, back to a terminal, and I'm going to create an index file. Now, by default in Fedora, the file where all of the web stuff is kept for HTTPD is in var www HTML, and I'm going to cd there, cd var www HTML, and for those of you who came in, I actually self-hosted the Fedora 23 ISO on my laptop so you could download it more quickly. Ended up didn't needing it, but it's useful, especially over a fast connection, like being here in the lab. So that's what I set up my website here in the lab for. I'm going to go ahead and create an index.html, and for this I'm just going to use Vim. I'm not. I'll go over a little bit of the usage of Vim. I might add this to my notes for this week. Google Vim tutorial. Vim is really cool, and I like it. It's my favorite text editor. check it out and check out the commands on how to use it. Very simply, I'm going to create index.html using Vim. So I'm Vim index.html, and I'm inside the var www.html directory. I'm going to create this, and I'm going to create a very simple HTML file. Go body. And this is a website I created in Vim. Probably not how you capitalize Vim. Now if I hit this page again, instead of having the test page, it says this is a website I created in Vim. So that's pretty cool, but hopefully can everyone still hear me? We good? All right. Sometimes I get a little paranoid when pages do this. That bothers me. So hopefully I'm still connected to the internet. Check out a Vim tutorial, though. I'm sure there's plenty out there and plenty information on how to use Vim. I'm going to be going over some of the basics. Like, for example, this file didn't exist, but I wanted to create it, so I just put in the file name I wanted. Hit I to go into insert mode, where I can just start typing. And then to get out of insert mode, you can see I'm in insert mode here. To get out of insert mode, I hit escape. And so now I'm in, if I just start typing, like I'm typing the letter J right now, and it's just going down. To get into insert mode, you hit I think I said that already. And to get out of it, you hit colon. See it popped up a colon down here. And then WQ, and that's for write and quit. So that's Vim, and that's basic HTTPD. Now, what makes Apache really cool isn't so much the fact that, great, I can make a static website, but there are things that you can put on top of Apache, like applications. And, for example, WordPress. I've done WordPress in years past. I've done Wikipedia. Wikipedia runs on Apache, MySQL, PHP. And MySQL is a database, and PHP is a scripting language, and that's what allows web applications to do things dynamically that you wouldn't normally be able to do with just static HTML. So I picked OwnCloud for this year because OwnCloud is a pretty cool piece of software. It's kind of like Dropbox or Box.net, if you guys have ever used anything like that, or like what is it, Windows Live Cloud Sync something or other. I don't know. Honestly, don't care because it's Microsoft. But Dropbox, or not Dropbox, OwnCloud is pretty cool, and you can install it pretty easily just by doing a DNF. Actually, we're going to search for it because I don't know exactly what I need to install. I'm going to do a DNF search and for OwnCloud. And it gives me back all of this stuff. And how do I know what to install? Well, I don't really. I do know that I want to use MySQL, and I do know that I'm running HTTPD, so I'm going to start by doing a DNF install of OwnCloud, OwnCloud-MySQL, and OwnCloud-HTTPD. And that should be all I need. Now there are several different database options for this as well. I think this will stay. There was also SQLite database support, and down here PostgreSQL database support. There. PostgreSQL, SQLite, and MySQL. If you don't know what a database is or how they work, that's fine. I'm not going to go into depth. I'm just going to go into as much depth as it is needed to get it installed and working. Databases are pretty cool You can kind of think of them as Excel spreadsheets, and they can store lots of different types of data in a very fast and compact way. So really what it does is allows for faster and easier access to data from your web front end. And things like login information and stuff like that is all stored inside of a database. So this is downloading right here. And it's downloading a lot of other things like PHP, which I said before is a scripting language. It actually, I think it's a recursive acronym too. I think it stands for the PHP Hypertext Processor, if I'm right. It originally stood for Personal Homepage, but now stands for the recursive backronym PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. So it is just a programming language that evolved out of a need to do websites a little bit more dynamically. And, for example, here is a, very simple example of a PHP program. There's completely HTML up until this line that tells it to run PHP. Now this will just print off the what's inside these single quote marks. But this could be very useful. For example, say it knew what user you were, you could say echo hello user, and then it would say your name, and it could pull your name out of the database. And so it's a pretty cool stitching together of different technologies to make things really work. See, check our progress here. It says I've got 0 seconds remaining, but it's not looking good. Now 94 to 94. Maybe. Come on. There we go. So now that it's done downloading, it goes through, installs everything. And then it cleans up any old packages if it needs to. Sometimes if you're upgrading or updating your system, there'll be old packages that you don't need anymore, and so it'll clean up those old packages. And then there are the check phase where it goes and verifies that everything's good. Oh, excuse me. And then it's all installed, ready to go. Now, how do I use it? It's installed, but can I just go here and make it work? Ooh, that's bad. No, that's really bad. Server sent no data. That's good. Hopefully everybody can still see me and hear me. Huh. Hopefully everybody can see and hear me. Well, hopefully YouTube's recording it more than anything. So we'll go here and let's check the configuration file. By default, the configuration file for Fedora and HTTPD is in etc. HTTPD conf. I'm going to look at the, it is, yeah, there's a conf.d directory and a conf.modules.d. Because we just installed a web application, what we're really looking for is the conf.d. And in there should be an ownCloud, maybe. There's nothing. That's cool. Okay, so I'm going to look at the conf. You're kidding me, right? There's no configuration installed. Really? Oh, haha. I was trying to CD to the configuration file. Silly of me. Vim, etc. HTTPD conf.d, sorry, and ownCloud. There it is. And I'll do ownCloud.conf. There's a bunch of ownCloud configurations, but I just want ownCloud.conf. We're going to open that up, and it says, do not edit this file directly. Okay. So why do I want to do that? I'm going to quit out of that. I just did a :Q. I'm actually going to LL or LS-A because from last week, LL is an alias for LS-L, and that's actually the file. If this, what I was checking to see is if it was a symbolic link or not, because sometimes they do that, and the file was actually telling me about symbolic links, and I think this is fine. I'm going to ignore, and we're going to see how well this goes. I've not done this before, so you can see either me fail or succeed. I'm going to ignore their warning to say do not edit this file directly. I mean, we basically already have this later than OwnCloud. But more than anything, I just want to see what this is doing. I might not need to edit this. So it's saying alias OwnCloud to user share OwnCloud. Okay, so this is telling me that at the root of my web server, I should be able to access OwnCloud at this. This is where OwnCloud is installed, and this is where it should be accessible on the website. So with luck, I should be able to go to my local host and do a /OwnCloud, and it said nothing. Why is it failing? Well, I'll quit out of that. I didn't make any changes. I'm going to do a systemctl status of HTTPD. Something is going weird with Apache. So I'm just going to restart it. For systemctl restart, HTTPD, takes a couple seconds, and we'll do a status. And hey, look at that. Just by restarting my web service, it automatically pulled up OwnCloud. Now, I haven't configured a database yet. I don't have a database server yet. So I need to fix that. So now I need to do a DNF install MariaDB server. Now, you've heard me talk a lot about MySQL, and so you might be wondering yourself, why am I installing MariaDB and not MySQL? Because I've been talking about MySQL this entire time. There's a very good reason for that. No, I don't want to go there. Sorry. I want to go to MySQL. MySQL.com was originally purchased. It was developed by, I can't remember his name now, a single guy, and he turned it into a pretty successful business. They got purchased by Sun, and then Sun was then purchased by Oracle. You see down here at MySQL.com, Oracle. And the open source world kind of hates Oracle because Oracle is kind of a terrible company. So the guy who wrote MySQL went on and he said, okay, Oracle bought my code, but you know, it's still going to be open source, but I just want to be true. I'm going to start MariaDB, which is 100% compatible with MySQL. However, it is completely owned by the MariaDB Foundation, and I can't remember this guy's name. It's probably not too terribly important, but you know, MariaDB Corporation. They have database solutions for MariaDB and MySQL. At the end of the day, basically the entire open source community said, you know, MariaDB is a more true to form open source database, and so we're going to pick that for our default MySQL implementation. It works like MySQL, it acts like MySQL. In every single way, it is MySQL, just with a different name. So we're installing, actually it's already installed, MariaDB, and a lot of the commands to access MariaDB are the same as MySQL. So, for example, if I do a systemctl status of MariaDB, it is loaded. What if I do MySQLD? Well, apparently that changed. It used to be the MariaDB service was actually called MySQLD, but now it looks like they changed it. Doesn't matter. I think all the tools are the same. So, for example, I don't think I have a Maria. Yeah, nothing for Maria. But if I do a MySQL, there's a bunch of MySQL commands. So I'm going ahead and going to start MariaDB. And because I want this to run the next time I boot my computer, I'm going to do a systemctl enable MariaDB. I'm going to do the same thing with HTTPD. And those two services will start now every single time I start my computer. I'm going to clear that. I should now be able to do a setup for MySQL, and this is a very optional step, but I think a very important step of running the command MySQL secure installation, because right now I don't have a root password, so I'm going to hit enter. I do want to set a root password, and I'm going to set it, something I can hopefully remember. No, I'm going to set something different I can remember. And then I want to remove anonymous users, and I want to disallow root login remotely, so the root user can only log in from the local machine. I also want to remove all the test databases, and I will reload the privilege tables now, and now it's all ready to go. MySQL is set up and ready to go. I will need to do one more thing before I set up OwnCloud, I think. Maybe not. Let's just try going through this. Let's actually go through, I think we can do setup. Oh. This is the setup where we have, we want to create an admin account. I'll use my name, and I'll use my password. Very, very weak. That's okay, I don't really care. This is on my box. The data folder is there, but that's for SQLite. I really wanted to use MySQL, and even here they say MySQL / MariaDB. Let's say I haven't created a database user or database password, nor a database. So I'm going to call this OwnCloud. And the database user I'm going to call SA OwnCloud, and SA for service account. And let's create a very secure password by going to watch out for snakes. Random phrase generator. I love this for, oh, perfect. Postgraduate solitude. Awesome password. Very secure. I'm going to put in my text editor here so I can, make it a little more secure. We'll call it postgraduate solitude with an exclamation point at the end. And that's a good password. It's long. It's easy to remember. Let's go ahead, go back to our terminal, and now we're going to set up the database and the stuff for OwnCloud to get it ready to go. So I'm going to do MySQL-P for password, because by default it's going to say, hey, you're not using a password, I'm denying you. But since I set a password previously in the secure installation step, I have to put in my password. I put in my password and I'm connected. So I want to create a user first for OwnCloud, right? So I'll do create user SA OwnCloud at localhost, because I only want them to log in locally. Identified by, and I'm going to put in my paste in my password, which is postgraduate solitude. I'm going to put a semicolon at the end because this language is called SQL, and it requires that I put a semicolon at the end of each of my commands. Now that I've created my user, I can create my database. I'm going to create database OwnCloud, and now I'm going to give the user permissions to that database. So I want to grant all, I think it's on OwnCloud.star to, I think it's grant all on OwnCloud star to OwnCloud.star to SA OwnCloud, and for verbosity, I'll put in the host. Maybe that worked. So now I'm going to flush privileges, make sure that those privileges I just assigned take, and now I'm going to exit. And with luck, I can copy this again. If I did that correctly, I should be able to paste this in here. Postgraduate Solitude, OwnCloud, and localhost, and I should be able to hit Finish Setup, and it should work. Bam. So there's a lot more setup if you want to put this on the internet, but just for purposes of this class, I'm not going to go through hardening this to put it on the internet. This is just a default installation. It's likely to be very, very, very insecure, so I don't recommend using it on the internet as is. But OwnCloud is pretty cool. You can share files. So, for example, at home, you could put all your files, all your documents and photos on your Linux server, and then access them from any other computer or device in the house. If you notice that screen that popped up initially, there's an Android app which would require you to be on the internet. There's also a ton of plugins. So there's only 3 by default: Files, Activity, and Pictures. But I can go and download applications specific to OwnCloud that allow me to do like calendaring, all sorts of things. So that's basically it. I'm actually pretty happy with where I'm at on time. I'm really impressed by the fact that I was able to go through and do it. I understand this is a lot to take in and a lot to understand, but when you take your screenshot, give me a screenshot of, like, you know, for example, this with your OwnCloud instance and the URL and the fact that it's working, and then your terminal. Like if you did this and said, hey, bam, print screen button on your keyboard, go into your pictures folder, attach that in email, you're good to go. So that's it. I'm actually pretty happy with how that turned out. Excuse me. Anybody have any questions, problems, concerns, thoughts? You guys, a couple seconds. I know you guys are watching. Hopefully you're there. Not totally glazed over. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast. This will get recorded. If you guys have any questions, I'll hang out here for probably another maybe 15 minutes. Nobody showed up today. I'm pretty disappointed in that, but hopefully you guys are watching, getting things done. If you have any questions, problems, email me. I'm pretty flexible on things, so if you're having, you know, any issues at all, just email me, ask me questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I am a little slow lately. Been really busy with all of my day work going on and other stuff. So if I don't get back to you immediately, don't worry about it. You're not, like, you know, risking your grade or anything. It's totally fine. But do, you know, at least send me an email. I might not, like, be able to respond to it immediately, but I'll at least see that you're emailing me and kind of have in the back of my head that I need to go back and respond and do stuff. And I'll probably take the next, probably 15, 20 minutes and respond to some of those emails that I know I already have. So that's it, guys. We'll see you next week.